Well, I know that trailers are lies, but it's been a while since I felt this lied to by a trailer. I'm Peter Franson from christiangeekcentral.com and Spirit Blade Productions. The IMDb synopsis for The Damned reads, Ava, a 19th century widow, is tasked with making an impossible choice when, in the middle of an especially cruel winter, a ship sinks off the coast of her isolated fishing post. Ava and her crew must choose to either rescue the shipwrecked or survive the winter with their last remaining food. Facing the consequences of their choice and tormented by their guilt, the inhabitants wrestle with a mounting sense of dread and begin to believe they are all being punished for their choices. All right, so let's talk about just what the basic vibe of this movie is, and I do want to say something about the trailer. The trailer is why I saw this movie. I didn't really see anything about it, just kind of ran into randomly, I think, some kind of announcement about its release. And the trailer itself has like some quick cuts and stuff, lots of reactions, giving me the sense that like, oh, there's a lot they're keeping from me in this trailer. Not only that, but the quotes they used from various reviewers I think are very relevant. Now, whether or not the reviewers themselves are, I don't know, known, reputable, that's beside the point. The people who make the trailer say we're going to use this quote because, you know, I would assume they agree that it represents their movie and what they're going for in their movie. And so the quotes included in the trailer include one of the most haunting, disturbed movies I've seen. Disturbed, that's a key word for me. I would want the, well, is the movie disturbed? Or should I be disturbed? I don't know. Interesting quote. But disturbed, I like creepy movies. I don't like jump scare movies. And this really isn't a jump scare movie. It's aiming for disturbing. Frightening as hell was another one, and that could be a throwaway quote, who knows. Sends chills down your spine. So again, indicating to me this is a creepy, unsettling type of experience that they're going for. And you might have to pause the movie to take a breath, which suggests to me a ton of tension, edge of my seat, building, you know. And I just didn't feel any of that watching this movie. It's hard in some ways not to compare it to John Carpenter's The Thing. The premise is that they are isolated by cold weather. There's paranoia as they're beginning to not trust each other. Some stuff happens. They're like, who did it? You did it. You know, that kind of thing. And there's this unknown creature that is kind of preying upon them. So there's just some strong parallels. It's not that I was expecting John Carpenter. Well, from the trailer, there's actually one body horror moment that I was like, oh man. Well, that turns out to be not near as interesting as you know, you might think from the trailer. It felt more like a dreary, cold, bleak, sad drama with a horror movie soundtrack and a few repetitive horror images. The first half is like a slow burn, I think, and the second half I felt like plateaued immediately with these silhouetted glimpses of the enemy, the bad, the evil, that is just in different forms repeated without being developed or opening up. When there is some kind of an unknown evil, an unknown creature, the classic formula that you know, I think is unwise to depart from is you suggest, you build lore, you show glimpses, but as the movie progresses, you show more and more until there's this crazy unveiling where your jaw drops and you go, oh my gosh. But they just stick with these silhouetted images and give you a few more details, a few brief close-ups here and there, but it doesn't really feel like it goes anywhere. It doesn't develop into more and more unveiling of the evil of the creature. And there's many shots in the movie that just simply look bleak and cold, where the music suggests like ba 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 ba, you know, like, oh man, this is I guess really grandly horrifying in this moment is what I'm supposed to be feeling, but it just looks like they're trudging around in the snow. The tagline in the trailer is at least true, I thought. That is that the living are more dangerous than the dead. The deaths largely feel natural, either self-inflicted or usually human on human out of some berserk paranoia. The evil never amounts to being more dangerous than some scary images. And the climactic moment, without spoiling it, and the resolution to it also features a reveal that I felt way ahead of. So, the story, just the basic animal itself, was not something that I wanted to leave the theater. When I just passed the halfway point, I was like, oh man, no, this isn't going anywhere. But I had a review to do, so I stuck around. Anyway, the cast, I thought they were all plenty solid. I don't really have any complaints about the actors and their performances. I just wish they had a more engaging story and script to work with. As far as the stunts, the visuals go, it's largely practical, and it's what it presents is not certainly not overly ambitious for how they execute on it. The creatures are mostly obscured by shadow or their blurry background images that kind of start moving, like, oh, it was there all along, that kind of thing. The more I saw of the Draeger, is that how you say it? Draeger is how I think they said it in the movie, the less I was impacted by it. And I'm wondering if some of that I can blame on Skyrim, where you run into Draegers all the time in crypts and stuff, and it's like, yep, that's a zombie type thing. Although I do have to say that the gross and squishy sound design for the Draeger in this movie, associated with the movements, was nice. That was a nice, creepy touch. I always was hoping, oh yeah, let's keep going down that thread. Show me why it's being squishy. Open this up a little bit. Never really saw much of what the sound implied. Let's see here. As far as themes, the title, The Damned, coupled with some plot elements, suggests, I think, that this is a story about people suffering horrible supernatural consequences for a deep sin of omission in not saving lives when they could have at risk to themselves. They chose to preserve their own lives, to not risk their own lives, and to not try to save these people. And if you're really paying attention, you'll notice that it makes a big difference whether or not the characters were a party to that sin, whether or not they went along with that, they agreed to it, whether or not they voiced opposition to it, or if they at least repented of that sin, regretted it later on. But you have to really be paying attention, I think, to kind of notice that kind of consistency. The thematic connection wasn't as strong and as direct as I might have liked, and I felt like it was kind of just one more element that wasn't leaned into strongly enough. Now, I have no idea what your tastes are in movies, but if I were a time traveler, I'd go back in time and say, Peter, skip this one. Man, the music is the kind of the most intense strong point, and it feels overdone for what the movie actually is. I wanted it to lean more heavily and intensely into several elements, but instead it largely just felt there to me. I'm surprised a bit that it committed to a theatrical-only release, but I doubt I would finish watching it if it was on a streaming service that I already had. Anyway, this one's rated R for bloody, violent content, suicide, and some language. Right now I'd like to take some time to write a tune for pre-made rhyme. The lyrics kind of never change, but the melody gets rearranged. I never know what I'll create to say how much I appreciate Dan Excel, Gabriel Stinson, Olin D. Branham, Winston Crutchfield, Lee Bray, Joel Nelson, Jake Berry, and Michael Cottrell. Thank you for supporting me, and SBP and CGC, and now to all who hear this tune, thank you as well. Please come back soon. Want to hear your name in song? Then check out our page on Patreon. All right. I'd love to get your thoughts and reactions in the comments below. Please like, share, subscribe, click that bell to stay connected to this content. I want to thank the Spirit Blade Insiders for making this review possible. You can get info about the benefits of joining over at patreon.com/Spirit Productions. Then I hope you'll check out our podcast and stay connected to all CGC content at christiangeekcentral.com as we continue to geek out and seek the truth. For more chat about geek entertainment, answers to your questions, and news from the wider world of Christian geekery, get the Christian Geek Central podcast today on iTunes and other podcast services.